Hi everyone, my name is Rafał Foltyński. I currently work for Gamesys. I've been developing web applications and APIs for the last 8 years. But today I'm here to talk about what I'm doing in my free time. And I'm an open source contributor. I have some minor contributions to Jackson Core and Jest. And most of all, I'm an owner and core contributor to Log4J2 Elasticsearch, which will be our main topic today. A plugin that allows to push application logs directly to your Elasticsearch clusters. If you hear about it for the first time, let me explain you what it actually is. It's a Log4j appender that allows you to push your logs in batches asynchronously, every configurable interval. By default, I believe it's 1 second. It gives you a full control over your output format, the way your output actually looks. It gives you a full control over the storage parameters, starting from number of replicas and number of shards. Your data will be stored. You can configure it per index in Elasticsearch. Plus, it gives you some very basic failover mechanism. You can basically, by default, it doesn't do anything, but you can redirect your batch to, for instance, file and deal with your failed batches later. And since the last release, it allows you to configure a security layer over the delivery. And integration with Elasticsearch XPack was added to allow you to connect to authenticate and encrypt your batches. So you're probably wondering, like, wait, isn't Logstash already doing that, or Filebeat? And you're right. These tools were already there. They are provided by Elasticsearch. But what was always missing was the actual direct communication from the application to your cluster. So the goal was to change this kind of architecture where you have multiple applications writing multiple log files, pushing all the logs to Logstash, spending resources on processing and reformatting your log before actually pushing them to Elasticsearch, to architecture like this. Now, there is a question why. And since we are currently living in a microservices world, everyone wants to write microservices. Everybody writes microservices. And we are often dealing with problems like domain boundaries, data ownership. This plugin, if you take logs as data that application produces, this plugin allows you to take the full ownership of your data, from formats to storage parameters. I don't believe that retention is configured, but it can be added. Plus, it gives you a single source of configuration. In the previous architecture, where you have Logstash, where you have Filebeats, you have your log delivery spread across multiple machines, potentially multiple repositories. You are dependent. You often depend on other teams' release cycles. In this case, it's mostly ops. This plugin allows you to configure your log delivery to Elasticsearch inside your application without any external dependencies. Most of all, without depending on your company's release train, in worst cases. It gives you it makes it simple. It gives you the simplicity of deployment and changing the format of your business logs, business metrics that you would like to log, that you would like to store and search in Elasticsearch. It gives you flexibility, to change your formats. Again, without dependencies on another team, change your format, adjust your carefully crafted business metrics, anyway your product owner or your architect or the developer wants, with another incoming release. Plus, it's also extensible by design. You can basically extend and augment any piece of this plugin any way you wish it to work. I'm a fan of approach where everything is allowed instead of everything is restricted. So if you extend it, you do it on your own responsibility, but you can always do it. And ultimately gives you the opportunity to reduce the disk I/O. You don't have to care about keeping your storage in good shape. You don't have to care about free space on your machines. If you're wondering why your application is down, you see that free disk space is gone. There's not much you can do without it. You don't know whether the logs were delivered or not. If they are delivered, the file should not be there. So it all sounds too beautiful to be true, and this plugin has some usage of this plugin has some drawbacks. First drawback is the overhead, because all the resources and time and CPU cycles, memory that were utilized in some log-stash aggregator or by FileBeat. Now all this overhead is moved inside your application. So whenever you use it, be sure that you monitor your application closely, and be sure that the logs, this type of logging will not slow down or interrupt the application runtime. At some point, you'll have to decide whether you want to push 1 million logs per minute, or of 1 million small, tiny logs per minute, or 100,000, or whether you want to push some bigger logs. In this case, you would have to reduce their amount, because all of these decisions have an impact on your application responsiveness. Still, there is no 100% reliable retry mechanism. It's on the roadmap. I have plans to add it in the future. Probably some file-based retry mechanism that will just retry given amount of times. Right now, all you can do is just dump the failed batch to another appender, still inside the same application runtime. On the roadmap, yes, retry mechanism. I will work on improving the compatibility. Log4j2 11 introduces changes in their log events serialization. I already figured out how to improve it, and I will release it in the next weeks. Full integration with Log4j2 lifecycle. It will probably be a breaking change. It's a plan for version 2. Proper handling of shutdown. When you're in the middle of the batch delivery interval and your application stops, you want to flush the pending logs immediately. And of course, more appenders. I have plans for Log4j to Splunk, and hopefully I'll be able to deliver that soon. Demo. Okay. Would you like to see the demo?
Yeah.
All right. So I have a very basic setup with Log4j.
Is it possible to flip the contrast?
You mean switch from Darkula to? Yeah, sure. I believe it's possible.
Let me see if I can turn the lights off.
Yeah, all right. Where's the theme? There's the appearance.
Yeah, that's it.
Is it enough? Oh yeah, there you go.
Can I put the backgrounds up as well?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right, cool. All right, so this is some basic configuration. This appender is configured to deliver logs to my local cluster. The index will start with Log4j test jest. It's a rolling index in and it will be rolled over every hour. Well, I would love to. Is there a presentation mode? All right. View. Where's the presentation mode? What? Third from the bottom. Enter presentation mode. All right. Oh, it didn't help. All right. This is. Any suggestions how to exit the presentation mode? Done. I done it too well. All right. Oh, beautiful. That's the first time it happened to me. Oh, maybe this one? Function? No? Oh, no. Oh, there's something. Yes, gotcha. Oh boy. All right, it is a challenge.
Go three up from the top. Wrap around that.
Yes, got it. Wow. It's the first time IntelliJ was causing me such trouble. All right. So, yeah, this should be good.
Settings, font.
Wait for it. There it goes. All right. So in this demo, I'm adding around 5,000 very small messages per second. They should be visible in Kibana very soon. Let's discover, right, we have our index. Let's write some pattern for it. All right, we should see we should see the logs steadily arriving. In the end, the counter on the left should show 1 million. If it doesn't, I'm screwed. All right, do you have any questions?
Well, more, yeah, I guess here's a question. I'm an ex-developer, so I've effectively de-skilled myself. So I see the appeal to being able to define the structure in the application, like for the completeness of ownership. But is there a risk that the application is then quite tightly coupled with Logstash itself if you're defining properties such as how many shards and things like that? Those concerns aren't separate.
Yeah, it's a decision that.
Is it the sort of trade-off?
Yeah, it is a trade-off. There are a lot of trade-offs that you have to, a lot of decisions that you have to make in order to use this approach. Because, as you mentioned, if the company, for instance, uses their own standard for storing some kind of technical metrics or business metrics, you will probably not get much leverage from providing your own format. But if you want to store your if you want to have some dashboards in Elasticsearch that only your team will use and only your application will produce, some kind of very specific stuff for your product owner, this kind of stuff can help you, right? So then in the end, you can always ask your ops team or some team that is specialized in configuring Elasticsearch indices to configure that for you. You don't have to provide the index templates from the application. You can, but you don't have to, right? So most of the features available here are optional, right? The same goes for delivery interval. Same goes for the batch size. Because it will, in the end, it will influence the traffic that you generate from your application to Elasticsearch, right? So there are a lot of decisions that you have to make, whether it's feasible or whether the overhead is low enough to actually do that. So it doesn't impede the runtime of your application. Oh, there's Millie. Yeah, it couples, true, but
I definitely see the appeal to
every type of log delivery has some kind of impact. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you have some benchmark, like the overhead or how many logs you can push or something else?
Yes. Well, I can do another run with Visual VM if you want. I don't have benchmarks per se. What I can tell you right now that the overhead is around 6, maybe 10. Memory overhead is around 10 times higher than the regular logging to a file. Because obviously there's a lot of JSON and JSON serialization, because in this case we are using jest. In terms of speed of delivery from your application code to actual batch, these are probably microseconds. Everything is asynchronous, so the application, if you configure it if you configure your logger, this appender behind asynchronous logger and potentially asynchronous appender, you will never notice the impact on your application responsiveness. But batches have to be processed; they have to be serialized inside the application. This have a quite significant impact on the memory consumption. And I already started work on some allocation-free processing, or as allocation-free as possible, because some pieces will be very, very, very hard to optimize. And this is work in progress right now. And in terms of benchmarks, usually I benchmark on my computer. I can deliver around 1 million logs per minute without much trouble. Yes.
What happens when Elasticsearch becomes a bottleneck? So if it can't keep up with the indexing load,
Yeah.
Is there like some buffer in the appender?
Yes. All batches are stored in memory. So potentially, the amount of logs that you can store depend on your heap size, depends on the number of connections that you have, because these connections will be hanging, and these batches will hang for some time. As soon as the connection will time out, or you will receive any error from Elasticsearch, your whole batch can be redirected to some other source. But as I mentioned, this whole buffer, it depends what's the batch size that you configured. You can configure it to 10,000 logs. By default, I believe is 1,000. You can reconfigure it to any amount you want. right? So if you configure it for 100,000 logs, you gotta have capacity to store batch size multiplied by, for instance, number of connections in your Apache thread pool in case of jest, or I believe it's called concurrency level in Elasticsearch bulk processor, because this plugin has a couple of modules. You can use Elasticsearch bulk processor or jest HTTP client or whatever else you wish. For now, these two bulk delivery types are available. So.
But it will stop queuing after if it's you're getting backlash.
It will. The application has to stall because otherwise you will lose logs indefinitely, right? So on top of that, there is a queue. There is a blocking queue inside async appender. Plus, there is a ring buffer inside async logger that will store even more logs. But still, at some point you have to flush it. Otherwise, your application will just stop. So I believe that the key is to configure relatively short timeouts. Adjust your batch sizes to the traffic that you have, and sort out what kind of risk you can take. In case of file appender and disk running out of space, the same thing will happen. So there is no silver bullet, right? Any other questions? Yes.
Is this in use in production?
Yes, I'm getting emails from people sending me screens from their production systems. Very happy about it, and basically very happy that everything works. Everything works as they expect. I don't have numbers regarding the traffic and the volumes of data they store, but as soon as they are happy and they request for new features, I'm happy as well, because I had a blast during development of this plugin, and I would love to do that for the next months and years.
Have you considered using a messaging queue?
No, I know. You mentioned Kafka?
Will be much safer.
Yeah. There are options, and feel free to write your own module that can do it. Yeah, right. I was thinking about Kafka Appender, but Log4j already provides it. I was thinking about Cassandra Appender. I was thinking about Splunk Appender. Splunk Appender is work in progress. I already have a working example, but I still need to sort out some licensing questions. So there are multiple options in terms of queue. It is an option, of course, but a lot of appenders using queues and that use queues are already available. So I'm not a fan of reinventing the wheels here. I try to keep it simple as possible, and if you're happy with this kind of simplicity and extensibility and capabilities of adding your own messaging broker in the middle, feel free to do that. I'm accepting contributions. Come again?
This solution sounds like in theory you can lose logs.
Yeah.
So I
It is a risk. It is a risk with any logging solutions, to be honest, right? The question is, how big buffer do you have, yeah, and how stable is your Elasticsearch cluster, right? So there's no silver bullet to these kind of problems. Yeah. This offers you relatively small buffer, but reduces a bit of complexity that you might want to eliminate from your ecosystem and release cycle.